Ukraine
testimony so far today, 6.5. I didn't hear anything new at all. We were here all day yesterday for about 13 hours. No new material presented. It still seems to me as this was an effort by the Democrats in a very partisan way to bring a case against President Trump because they weren't happy with the results of the 2016 election and are concerned that they're going to have real problems in the 2020 election when we look at the candidates running for president against President Trump. Nancy Pelosi said they've been at it for 2.5 years, and the reality is that these phone calls didn't happen until this past July. I'm here with Senator Scott, and we've been talking about the fact that this is not just about the impeachment of the president. This is a focus on an attempt by the Democrats to take the Senate, which is what Senator Schumer essentially admitted in an interview with the New York Times.
Yeah, there's no question that when you think about this entire process, if yesterday they were going to present today overwhelming evidence, what we've seen is just a rehashing of yesterday's charade. Therefore, the conclusion is a very simple one, that the goal of this entire process is not to remove the president from office, it's simply to remove certain Republican senators, Colorado, North Carolina, Iowa, Maine, and Arizona from office. And this is absolutely an opportunity for them to try to overtake the Senate.
Senator, if you're concerned about not hearing anything new, why not agree to a subpoena for John Bolton or Mick Mulvaney, who could provide new information?
I think the House still reserves the right to compel testimony, and they did not do it then. And if there are entire conversations around the fact that it'll take too long, they could have saved us a couple of months had they already done so. So I welcome Speaker Pelosi to compel Bolton or anyone else to come into the House and testify, and they've suggested that they may decide to continue the process anyway.
And if you read the brief, that the House managers brought forward, 11 times it says the information is overwhelming. The facts are overwhelming. Nadler has said we could do this in 3 minutes, that it's a rock-solid case. Present the case and let us vote. It doesn't seem, if the vote is on the impeachment of the President of the United States and the evidence is overwhelming, present it and ask us to vote. We ought to be able to make that decision. Right now, we're going to hear from the managers. They're about 5.5, 6 hours into a 24-hour presentation. We'll then hear from the White House in their defense and then have 16 hours for questions. It does seem to me that at the end of that, most senators will be pretty well informed on whether they know which way they're going to vote and aren't going to need any additional information. Anything else seems to be that some senators, already knowing how they're planning to vote, are just looking for additional information, not to inform themselves, but for political purposes.
You don't think documents, for instance, a subpoena to get documents could inform your judgment as you cast this vote?
I look forward to having the entire case laid out by both sides. This is the first time we'll have an opportunity to hear the president's rebuttal of what they say are the facts from the House manager's perspective. So as we go through the process, it will provide us 16 hours after both sides have laid out their case. We will then have a chance to ask the questions that we find pertinent to the investigation, and then at that point we'll have an opportunity to engage our colleagues on what they want to do next.
What questions, if any, do you have?
Well, I think it's really important for us to first focus on the fact that what we've seen so far is a reflection on the past, not a foreshadowing of the future. So when we listen to our House managers lay out their case, they continue to talk about what we think is in fact true, that the corruption in the Ukraine is clear. So the focus on 2016's election is exactly what we've heard. We've not heard any actual evidence about 2020.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Allie.